Thank you so much for the introduction, Steve. Well, I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and we'll go from there. Okay, and okay, it looks like everything works. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Nina, and I am indeed a content marketing strategist at Get Site Control, which is a plugin designed to help you create pop-up email subscription forms. Coincidentally, today we are going to talk about email list building. And before we get started, I suggest we do a quick warm-up. In the chat box, if you can, please, in a couple of words, tell me if you currently collect email addresses on your website or outside your website. If yes, what are you using? What strategy, what tool? And if you can share your email sign-up rate with us, this would be fantastic. I'll give you probably 15 seconds because it's a short response. And I'll try to access the chat box as well. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think I can see it right now. We'll get back to those responses later then.
You don't see the chat window? I see it, yeah. You don't see the chat window?
No, perhaps because I'm sharing my screen, my desktop, I don't get the access to the chat box. I would have to.
I can read it to you. We just have one right now. It says ConvertKit. Unless you wrote, there's a Nina guest. Did you write that?
I did not write that. Perhaps there's another Nina.
There's another Nina that says it's through her store, not organized and just from purchases.
That's interesting. That's an interesting example from purchases. This is something that many e-commerce businesses rely on, but there are many other ways, and that's what we are going to cover today. So for those who are not collecting emails on the website yet, or those who are just getting started and don't know where to go, here is a list of reasons why you should have an email list in the first place, why you should be motivated to continue this journey. First of all, of course, the most obvious response, to spread the word about news and updates, what's happening with your business, new products, updates. You want to share it with your community, and building an email list is one of the best ways to build a community. You also want to drive traffic to your website, your products, your social media, even Slack community, and you probably don't want to only rely on organic or paid traffic. Email is a great channel for this purpose. When you launch a new product, when you release a huge update, you want to reach out to your email subscribers and encourage them to take action. You may want to ask them for their feedback. And most importantly, you want to keep this communication going to build relationship with your audience, to better understand what they want and need, and use this information to grow your business. Probably you've also heard that email is quite an effective sales channel. As a matter of fact, regardless of the niche your business belongs to, email has the highest ROI compared to other marketing channels. And if you're lucky enough to be in the e-commerce business, that means $45 per each dollar spent on email marketing. That's not too shabby at all, I think. So there is just one problem. Email list building is quite a challenge. And it is true for everyone. We've been there, especially if you're starting from scratch. It's not easy. If I had to boil it down to two main reasons, people either don't want to join your list and they have their very strong opinion about that, or they don't know how to join your list. They may not even know you have one. From a customer perspective, it's easy to relate to both reasons. If your inbox is anything like mine, it's probably already flooded with emails, and you surely don't want to share your address with another company to get just another generic newsletter. But there is another reason that we observe often, especially when it comes to small businesses. Website owners are not being proactive about collecting emails. They don't proactively invite people to join their list. As a matter of fact, many websites still have this tiny email subscription box at the very bottom in the footer where many people will not even scroll to. And they think that if someone is truly interested in their business or their content, they will be determined enough to find this form, fill it out, and subscribe. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, especially in the world with such a short attention span. If you want people to do something on your website, be it a subscription or provide you with a feedback, you have to approach them first. With all that in mind, how on earth do I build an email list as a small business owner? Well, my first advice is start small and give your sign-up form the attention it deserves. In other words, if you don't have one yet, create it today. It's easy, it's quick, you probably know already. You've been postponing it, it's time. If you have it, but it's hidden somewhere in the footer, as I said, bring it up. Be bold, put it in the sidebar. And if you have a noticeable, visible, eye-catching email subscription form, but it brings fewer signups than you anticipated, make it pop. I do mean pop-up email subscription forms, but not just because this is something GetSite Control helps you create, but because they truly work. In fact, compared to embedded sign-up forms and inline sign-up forms, model pop-ups bring minimum twice as many subscribers as embedded forms from the same number of website visitors. So there is no reason not to try them, at least give them a try. Let's say you've created a nice email subscription form that you are happy with. Does it mean you should stop at this point? No. Don't leave it hanging there. There are so many things you can work on. You can tweak, optimize for better results. For example, format, display trigger, lead magnet, and copy. I'm going to go over each of these points in the next slides. When I talk about formats, this is my favorite topic because if you are one of those people who are feeling hesitant about model pop-ups because they may appear a little bit too intrusive, I hear you, but there are other ways to display your email subscription form. Other formats include slide-ins, sidebars, bottom bars, sticky bars, full screens. You may be wondering if all these formats are just as effective as model pop-ups. Well, luckily we have some data. We've recently finished our in-house A/B test where we displayed the same email subscription form using 5 different formats. The first one was this traditional model pop-up. The second one was a slide-in, sidebar, sticky bar or bottom bar, and a full screen. I'm going to ask another question, Steve, so I might need your help. Which format do you guys think converted better than others?
Can you show them again?
Of course, this is a full screen, bottom sticky bar, sidebar, slide in, and the model pop-up.
We got 1 full screen, 1 modal.
Okay.
2 for modal. 3 from modal or slider.
These are great guesses. I thought that all of you would vote for full screen because the truth is full screens had the highest conversion rate of all. However, does it mean it's the best way to collect emails on a website? I will not even ask you this question in the chat box because I think we all can agree that it might not be the best option. It might be a little too intrusive. It might feel a little bit too in your face. And if you use them, especially for your mobile audience, Google might not like you for that. However, we still wanted to use this format to get this data. My favorite conclusion from this particular test is that sidebars, and I'm going to show you a sidebar again, have roughly the same conversion rate as model pop-ups, which is this version. Which means you don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to use aggressive formats to grow your email list efficiently. Use whatever you are comfortable with. However, I want to encourage you to not be afraid and test things out to see what works on your website and for your audience and which approach you think is the most efficient. Let's move on. The next thing you can think of when you create your email subscription form is a display trigger. Display triggers are the conditions under which email subscription form pops up on your website. It can be the time a visitor spends on your website, the number of pages they view, page scroll depth, certain actions like clicks on certain areas or certain buttons, and even an activity. As a rule of thumb, you want to display your email sign-up form after a visitor spends certain amount of time on your website. Why? You may be wondering. Well, because you only want to approach engaged visitors. You don't want to invite random visitors to join your email list because you want to at least make sure they are slightly interested in your content or your business. Let's see how other websites use display triggers to build their email lists. Ahrefs is a SEO software developing company, and they use email sign-up pop-ups on their blog. They only display them when you reach the bottom of a blog post, which means Ahrefs ensure they only target those who have very high interest in the content they produce. Product Hunt, you've probably heard of it, is a platform where tech companies announce new product launches, and their subscription form pops up as soon as you hit the second page or when you start looking at the products featured on the platform. Product Hunt also want to make sure they don't target random visitors. They only invite those who are generally interested in technology or new products to join their list. Fresh Menu is a meal delivery service, and their subscription form pops up when you try to live without purchasing. This might seem like a little bit of a gray area, but there is a very clear assumption behind it. When you find yourself on a website of a meal delivery service, chances are you're considering using meal delivery service either today or later. So even if you don't make a purchase, you might consider coming back later. There is no guarantee you will come back to the same website and you will even remember Fresh Menu. To be ahead of competitors, Fresh Menu wants to capture your email address and give you a discount coupon for your first purchase, and this way they kill two birds with one stone. They increase the chances of your purchase, and they have you on their email list. They're probably going to remind you about themselves and invite you to come back whenever you're hungry. Bottom line, there is no one-size-fits-all recipe when it comes to display triggers. However, as I've said, you want to target engaged visitors primarily. How you define those engaged visitors will depend on your website, because one-page websites and multi-page e-commerce websites might be using different strategies. As a matter of fact, e-commerce websites tend to be much more aggressive when it comes to email list building tactics. And again, the reason is clear to me. These websites, e-commerce businesses, they spend a lot of money on advertising, and for them, converting a visitor into an email subscriber, if they cannot convert them into a customer, is crucial. So you've probably seen their so-called welcome pop-ups. They usually appear just a couple of seconds after you land on the website. It's always a model pop-up or a full screen, and they always contain an incentive, which is also called a lead magnet. For e-commerce websites, it's typically a discount. Whether it's a good strategy for your business or not, only you know the answer to this question. However, we can learn from e-commerce brands, and we can see that lead magnets work for other businesses as well. If you've never heard the term lead magnets, I'm going to clarify it for you. Lead magnets are incentives that you offer in exchange for joining an email list. They must contain a valuable piece of information that solves subscribers' pain, and it should always be quickly and easily consumable. So if you are thinking ebooks, no, forget about ebooks. Nobody really has time to read another 70-page ebook, even if it's free. The most popular lead magnets are short. They are consumable within an hour, and people really want to make use of what you give them as soon as possible because it's aimed to relieve some of their pains. So think discount coupons, templates, checklists, toolkit, cheat sheet, access to a video, or even a 15-minute consultation. You'll be surprised, but I've seen this lead magnet on a website of a real estate agent. I couldn't find it as an example, unfortunately, but such lead magnets exist as well. Other non-commerce businesses use lead magnets actively. You've probably heard of Blog and Wizard. It's a blog helping entrepreneurs grow their blogs, and they offer guides and checklists to help you grow your blog in exchange for an email subscription. They have a whole dedicated page for email to invite people to join their newsletter, and that's where they promote their lead magnets as well. Another example is WordPress Beginner. It's a guidance source for WordPress beginners, as it becomes clear from the name, and they offer a tool. They offer a list of tools and plugins they use to grow their own website if you join their email list. WordPress Buffs is an agency providing WordPress website support services, and they also have a very generous offer. In exchange for an email subscription, they will send you a set of ebooks to help you optimize your WordPress website. So as you can see, all these businesses use lead magnets, and there's a good reason behind it. Lead magnets increase conversion rates tremendously. Even our short experiment showed that going from no lead magnet to not having lead magnet to having a lead magnet increased an email conversion rate by more than 3 times, which is quite impressive if you ask me. Bottom line, lead magnets work. There is no need to create a complex, long-form piece of content to increase conversions. Instead, you should focus on relevancy. As a matter of fact, many websites create different lead magnets for different pages or different blog posts. These lead magnets are also called content upgrades because they provide additional piece of content for the blog post you are currently reading, not for the entire website. And the last very important part of your email subscription form is copy. I often see 2 extremes when it comes to copy. It's either very generic, I would say boring email subscription forms that do not really communicate the value of joining the newsletter. And another extreme is provocative, sometimes aggressive, borderline insulting copy that I will not deny works well, but only for a certain type of websites. If you ask me, there is nothing wrong with being creative, but being informative is much more important. You want your email subscription form or the page where that form is located to answer 3 questions. Why should I join your email list? Tell me. What exactly are you going to send me? When and how often will I receive emails from you? Here are some examples. Hustle Panda is a small website featuring brandable.com domains for startups. Their email subscription form is very minimalistic. It's concise, but it's also very clear. You know that every few weeks you will receive .com domains in your inbox. You want it, you subscribe. You don't want it, you move on. Anne Handley is a writer, marketer, and also the author of Everybody Writes, one of the New York Times bestsellers. And her page dedicated to the email subscription form is incredible because she describes the value of joining her newsletter very precisely. You will receive her writing tips and marketing ideas early Sunday morning every 2 weeks. It's also very clear and precise, and it creates trust from the very beginning. Also, when you work on your email subscription form copy, you should always remember about GDPR. I know it might be a painful topic for some, but it's important to follow permission-based marketing principles. This means you should either collect explicit consent from new subscribers before they sign up using mandatory checkboxes, or right after they sign up using double opt-in. They will have to confirm their desire to stay on your list. Bottom line is that clear copy is uber important. It alleviates fears and objections. It sets expectations, and it creates trust from the beginning. And if you want to emphasize the value of your newsletters, you can go the extra mile and be even more transparent. You can follow the example of Smashin' Magazine, which is an online magazine for web developers and designers. They feature a list of archived newsletters on their website where you can click and see and read all the previous newsletters and see what they are about and how they look and whether you want to receive them in your inbox or not. Cherry on top, there are other less obvious channels you can use to drive email signups. They can be on your website or outside your website. For example, on your website, you probably have contact forms, feedback forms, order forms, etc. There are plugins that will allow you to add a checkbox that will also suggest that the respondent subscribes to your newsletter. I know that MailChimp plugin allows you to do that easily. Outside your website, you have your social media channels where you are most active. You have your email signature and the forward this email feature. For example, Instagram bio link is a perfect place to feature a link to your page where the email subscription form is, or your dedicated email subscription form if you don't have such a page on your website. There are different services, some of them are free, that will help you create such a form that will not be tied to your website. Email signature generators, some of them are also free, will help you create a signature that will include a call to action and promote your newsletter as well. I know it's a lot of information and it's pretty mouthful, so let's wrap things up. Having an email list is important for any business. You can and should have multiple sources of email signups, including those outside your website. Your email subscription form and its elements play a more important part than you probably think. It's also crucial to follow permission-based marketing principles. And if you're not afraid of A/B testing, you will eventually become an email list building ninja. I promise that. This is it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, you can email me using this email address. And if you haven't found your perfect pop-up email subscription form builder, you can consider Get Site Control. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. All right, so if anybody has any questions, please leave them in the chat. I actually have some questions. So my questions are about mobile, which you didn't cover much of. I was just wondering, are you familiar with the conversion rates for desktop versus mobile for sign-up forms?
That's a great question. We've never measured them against each other, mobile and desktop. However, I don't think that the difference is huge in terms of email sign up. As long as your form is brief and only contains 1 or 2 fields, there shouldn't be a big difference. And again, it will also depend on whether you offer something in exchange or not.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering if there are any different techniques also for mobile versus desktop.
Of course, yes. There are some tips you should keep in mind if you have a significant number of people coming from mobile devices, because it's not the case for every website. But you should always make sure that the size of your pop-up is not bigger than 30% of the screen, not just because of Google rules, but also because you want to maintain excellent user experience and you don't want to annoy your visitors. Another thing is that scrolling, the scroll depth on a desktop and the scroll depth on a mobile device will look differently. So 30% of a page on a desktop it happens much faster than on a mobile device. So if you're using these triggers, you should keep that in mind and probably create a different pop-up for mobile that will appear a few seconds after the visitor arrives versus scroll depth trigger.
Great. So Get Site Control allows for a different pop-up for desktop and mobile.
Yes, of course.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Nina?
I'm going to see the chat box, but yeah, I don't see any questions.
Anyone? It usually means you had a great presentation. You covered everything. So
I hope so. Anyone? Thank you so much, Tiff.
Okay.
Well, great. I'll be here till the end of the meetup. So if any questions pop up, please feel free to type them in the chat box.
Great. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
So much.